G'day ladies and gents, and welcome back to Star Citizen with Mags, and welcome to my hangar walkthrough of the MISC Starfarer. The Starfarer is currently the largest flyable vessel in Star Citizen. It's not going to be the largest, but it's just the largest we currently have access to. It is a little bit of a monster. Now, before we get into the hangar walkthrough, I originally planned to do this in the persistent universe, but unfortunately trying to get it spawned in is a bit of a pain. There's only a certain number of slots available for a ship of Starfarer's size, and as with the free flight weekend on at the moment, all the current backers having access to Starfarer, well, who doesn't want to fly the biggest ship in the game? Trying to get one of them spawned in is a nightmare. So the Revel and York hangar will have to do. I don't normally use this hangar because it's a little too pristine for my liking, if you know what I mean, but it's one of the few hangars in the game that's actually large enough to house Starfarer in the first place, so she'll do. I've left my Grey Cat buggy by the rear landing gear so you can get a sense of scale of this ship. Starfarer is 100 metres long, 24 metres tall and 45 metres wide, weighs 350,000 kilograms empty and has a cargo capacity of 3,321 units, a unit being defined as 1 square metre. Now, well, I'll give you a better look at the scale. We'll go to third person, I'll stand by the landing gear, and you can see the landing gear comes to just a touch higher than my character's head. And yeah, you get the general idea. I've been told of people actually using Starfarer as a makeshift first-person shooter map, and, well, when you see inside of her, you'll believe her. The Starfarer was also the destroyed ship or the derelict ship that featured in the 3.0 demo at Gamescom this year. You'll recognise it from the nose, although this one is far more intact. Now, the Starfarer's primary role is that of a transporter or a refueler, and as such you would think she would only be lightly armed, but that, however, is not the case. There are two versions of the Starfarer, both are fairly equally armed, a civilian and a non-civilian or military version. This is the military spec one. The forward guns are two unmanned turrets that are controlled by the pilot, armed with size 4 cannons. There's one on this side and one on the other side, identical to it, so 4 cannons total. Up on the back, if you look above the bridge, you'll see another dorsal turret mounted up on the high ridge. According to the website, it is currently armed with size 4 guns as well. However, that is not the case. Those are size 5 cannons. Starfarer is one of the few ships in the game that can actually mount those currently. Size 5 being, as far as we are aware at this point, the largest subcapital weapon size that you can actually have on a ship. Now, there are two ways inside a Starfarer. We'll show you this before we go down the back end. Firstly is the docking collar just here, which we can activate and it automatically closes. We can't access that, obviously. It's designed for 0G entry or when the ship is docked, so that one's out for the moment, but that is one inside, and I will show you the inside of that room when we get down near the back. Now, transporter and refueler. Obviously, she has got a big cargo bay inside, which you'll see in a few moments, but there's also these massive gas tanks hanging down the back of the ship. Starfarer's main role is to transport fuel from either from refineries to fleets and refuel them, or store fuel and travel with the fleets in order to facilitate in refueling operations. Or, one of her special abilities is she's capable of entering the upper atmosphere of gas giants, scooping the gas off the surface and refining it in-house, refueling these tanks up on the fly. As a result, Starfarer is going to be a requirement for any main fleet action, as, well, she's the ship that's going to keep the fleet moving. You'll probably need several depending on the size of the fleets. Now, one other thing about these gas tanks, these can be converted over to use for non-fuel purposes. So, as I understand it, liquid foodstuff seems to be the mention. So, she could move vastly large amounts of fresh water to the fleets if it was necessary to do so, or alternatively, from an agricultural standpoint for the agricultural profession, move large amounts of milk or other materials from agricultural sites to processing facilities. Or, thinking in mind of military fleets, a 350,000 kilogram bourbon tanker. I like that idea more. Anyways, we go underneath the gas tanks here, which are monstrous. Switch on the right hand side, extends the cargo ramp. Be careful to not have it land on us. And this is the main entrance to the cargo bay. So here is the cargo bay area. Now we have the magnetic interlocks on the ground that lock the cargo to the hull so they don't shift around. The cargo area is divided into 4 parts, each 2 units deep, defined by the grid boxes on the ground, and you can stack them to the ceiling as far as we know at this point. It'll take shipping crates, it'll take, well, we've seen the shipping crate with the Drake Dragonfly inside of it in the 3.0 demo, so we know the approximate size. The Grey Cat buggy will fit in here. If the door was a little wider, this cargo bay is actually large enough to take a M50 interceptor inside. In fact, I've nearly managed to get one in before. The only thing that prevents it is the little winglets on the side of the M50 are just a little bit too wide for that door. So we have two exits out of the cargo hold. The first one here follows right through the belly of the ship. It's a maintenance service access area and leads through to the docking collar. So we can see it here. We activate it and then it seals up. So there's one here, and we have a whole bunch of series of doors around the outside. I'm assuming these will be maintenance access to avionics and so on. There is also health kits all the way through the ship. Heading back out, it's worth noting in the cargo area that we do have seats to the left and right hand side of that door, so you can take some people along for the ride. Currently you can't sit down in those, but they will be usable once the ship goes live. And then we have the main door that leads to the staircase, taking us up to Deck 1. So, Deck 1, we'll go through the back section first. We have an observation window into the cargo bay. And to our left, we have a airlock door, which leads out onto the catwalk in between all the gas tanks. This will be for monitoring, I'm assuming monitoring the status of the gas tanks during refining operations. I'm not sure exactly how much utility will be out here, it hasn't been mentioned, but I kind of like the idea of the Starfarer being in the upper atmosphere of gas giant, scooping fuel and refining, and actually being able to walk down the back and look down into the core of a gas giant. I think that's going to be amazing. I'm assuming you will be magnetically locked to the plates, otherwise you'll be blown over the side, although maybe you won't and it'll add a little bit of a risk factor. Through the other side, we come to this door, which is identical to the one we passed on the other side. This leads to the catwalks around the cargo bay, so we can have a good look at what's going on here, look down into the cargo bay itself. Two doors near the front of the ship lead into the central room. This is the cargo operations area, I guess. This will be, I'm assuming this screen will be active, showing the current cargo that is loaded on board and will be used for loading and unloading of cargo. The door directly behind that leads into the escape pod room. There are several escape pods. The Starfarer is designed to have a pretty significant crew, so it is a necessity to have a few escape pods on board, and there are more down the back. And then we come to the bridge. Now there's currently 4 stations inside. We have the pilot's position, co-pilot engineer's position, and then there's 2 positions at the back that are currently non-operable. Nothing happens when you get inside of them, even in the persistent universe. I'm assuming one of these will probably be navigation communications, and the other one will probably be a control station for the refining operations and the transfer of fuel. Then in the center we have the coolest chair of them all, the captain's seat. Now the captain's seat currently does nothing. No screens pop up, even in the PU. It doesn't give you anything. It's just a place for somebody to sit and bark orders at the rest, so I kind of like that seat. Wandering back out the back, we head back to the cargo area. If we head to our right, we lead up to the next series of stairs that will take us up to the next deck. So now we're up here. Now, trying to remember my way around. It's really easy to get lost in this thing. This is a lift access. We'll come to that in a moment. And this should be the same on the other side. Yep. Alright, so first we have the nacelle accesses here. There's a lot to remember on this ship. Now, this leads to the engineering compartment. We have some health kits on the wall, and there are 2 sections to it. I assume this room is the ship's reactor, which leads to a series of escape pods in here as well for the engineering crew. And if we go through this door, actually, nope, we've got to go through the door on the other side. That's right, it only accesses by one way. We have what I assume is part of the engine drive system for Starfarer. It doesn't really give any indication of what it does or how it works, but as far as I'm concerned, it could be by magic. I don't care. It looks really cool. So this is the engineering section of the ship. Escape pods on the sides as well. Now, these are the walkways into the nacelles. So if we get down here and we look out the window, we can see the gas tanks down below, and if you look very carefully, you can see the catwalk. So this is the section of the ship we're in now. These lead down to the rear turrets. So we have one here. Now these have a really interesting way of mounting. These are going to be really uncomfortable to use when you're in atmosphere. Sit down in them, the seats swing you upside down and eject you straight out the bottom of the ship. Now you can see the turret on the other side that's pointing out the rear at the moment. Yeah, you hang from the roof in order to be able to fire in this thing. In space, that's not going to be an issue. In atmosphere, well, I hope you don't mind having blood in your head. So we'll exit the turret position. Now, as I said before, those are currently only size 2 guns. I believe they're Bulldog repeaters, but the turret should be able to take up to size 4 weapons, as I understand it. And the other side of the ship has an access corridor identical to this one to get to the other turret. Other than that, I'm assuming there will be some maintenance components that can be worked on through this section of the ship, but that's really all that's here. So this is your engineering and defense deck. Now, there is a catwalk, or not really a catwalk, I suppose the Star Trek term of Jeffrey's tube would probably be the closest terminology for it. It's a maintenance access area that leads up the side of the ship. You can use this to go down and up in decks. There's ladders at the end of it. Now we go up through here, and this leads us to lift access. Now we have either a ladder on the side, or if we're feeling lazy, we can just stand still and press the button. The lift will take us up. The ladder is so if power fails, you can get up and down. The maintenance access corridors will allow access up and down the ship for exactly the same way. And this is the communal hub area. So first, we have the turret here, which we'll hop inside of. This is the top dorsal turret that leads to the turret with the size 5 cannons. We eject out the top, and as you can see, well, we can't rotate the turret because we're in the hangar bay, but we see the size 5 guns out the side, and even though the bridge is directly ahead of us, we actually have a pretty good field of view. This turret pretty much has a complete half-spherical coverage of the entire top of Starfarer. And it's the most dangerous turret mounted to any ship currently available in the game, so approaching Starfarer from above, not a wise idea if you're looking to try and get into a fight with her. She can do a lot of damage. Those size 5 guns can take down a Hornet in just a couple of hits, and there's 2 of them. Now, we have the communal lounge, eating area, and kitchen. So, fairly large area, but a fairly large crew. Door off the left, this is the captain's quarters. So we have the captain's desk, which currently has no chair, so I hope he enjoys standing. A single bed on the left-hand side, access to toilet facilities and so on. Just a private area with its own window looking outside of Starfarer. If we wander through to this side of the ship, we have the hangar and the hangar area. The toiletries area, so toilets for women's and men's are both modelled in, and locker for the crew, as well as the sleeping area, which looks like it has storage bays up the side as well. And again, it does have access to windows as well, although they're currently all closed. And the opposing side of the ship, this is the maintenance corridor access that I was showing you before that leads down into the Jeffrey's tube, I suppose is the best way to describe it. That allows you to move around the ship independent of the lifts. So this is the top deck of Starfarer. She is a big, big, big girl. And she's surprisingly finished. Some of the large ships in Star Citizen at the moment still need a little bit of work. Got to remember actually how to get out of here now. You can see how easy it is to get lost inside of this thing. Alright, so engineering will be back this way. Oh, that's lift access. Oh no, there we go, stairs down, there we go, all sorted out now. The ships in Star Citizen, some of the larger ships currently need a little bit of work to finish them off. The Retaliator Bomber comes to mind as a ship that still needs a couple of passes. It's fairly glitchy. However, I've been inside of Starfarer inside of a fight, and it's eerie. The ship is perfectly stable, as you see me walking around right now, while it's in combat. I had the pilots engaging while I was desperately, this was my first time inside of Starfarer, mind you, desperately trying to find out where that dorsal turret was without ever having seen it before, finding my way through the insides of this ship, and it took me a good couple of minutes. And the pilot was engaging in a fight. If I didn't hear the sound of the primary cannons at the front of Starfarer firing, I would have had absolutely no idea we were in a fight at all. The ship was perfectly stable, no glitchiness, I've never fallen out of the ship. It's actually quite incredible. And to think this is not even close to being the largest ship that's going to be inside of Star Citizen. To give you an example on scale and how big they're going to get, the Polaris Corvette that recently went on sale, the $750 torpedo ship, that's 155 meters long. Now the Starfarer is 100 meters long, which means the Polaris, if you were to start at the bridge of Starfarer, she would extend the full length of Starfarer's body and wind up stopping somewhere around the back section of the observation deck for the Revel and York hangar. The main difference being is that she would be around 3 to 4 times the width of Starfarer at the end and almost twice as tall. That's the scale of ships that Star Citizen is dealing with. Anyways, ladies and gents, I hope you enjoyed this brief hangar walkthrough of the Starfarer. I'm going to be sure to get some Starfarer in combat action on the channel as soon as possible. If there's any other ships you'd like me to take a look at, please let me know and I'll do my best to try and get my hands on them, do a bit of a review, have a look at them inside of the hangar if necessary, and try to get them in action in the Persistent Universe or in Vandal Swarm or one of the other PvP environments. Until next time, click like if you do, subscribe if you want to see more, fly smart, fly safe, and I'll catch you in the verse.